So Twitter. Okay, Twitter is my favorite social media network. It's not everybody's. I'm glad to see yay. So let's start with that. How many of you are on Twitter personally? Okay. How many on Twitter for business? How many of you represent your company on Twitter? Look at how new that is. Okay, so let me put this out there. For those of you who don't represent your company on Twitter, who does? Hands, somebody? You don't know? Come on, you know.
The webmaster.
The webmaster, okay? You?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What else?
At Wiley, every imprint has their own representation.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. What about the authors? Do you recommend that they use social media? Yeah?
Yes.
Everybody? Pretty much, kind of, sort of? Why wouldn't you?
They hate it.
That's a good point. If they hate it, don't make them do it. Okay?
I have an author who's in his 90s and he can't really do public interviews, and I talked to him about it. He's not going to keep it up, and I don't want to start it and then just have it sit there and not be managed.
Good point. Anybody else?
Not enough metrics.
Not enough metrics. Okay. What do you mean by metrics?
Sales.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, the whole tracking thing. Okay. So what Twitter is all about is very small amounts of information delivered a lot, often. Somebody put out Strunk and White the other day and said often isn't a word, and now I catch myself saying it all the time. And I don't think I ever said it before. Often, people have said that posting often, now I've set myself off, is really important. And the average for a really successful Twitter account, 24 tweets a day. Seriously. Who's got time for that? Yes.
It's a question, maybe 4 repeat them 6 times, and do you do a certain number repeat them, or 24 separate ones?
24 separate tweets. Now that can include retweets. It can include responses and replies, and I sure hope it does. But you know what I tell people to do is sit down periodically in front of Twitter. I use Hootsuite. I love Hootsuite because I can schedule tweets. So sit down in front of Twitter and go through your stream. Pick really great blog posts that you want to post about and schedule them in throughout the day. And then make sure that you get if anybody replies to you, you get it on your phone with a direct message, or you get an email at the very least, or go check every couple hours. But that way you don't have to be on Twitter all day, all the time. But you can schedule things to go. So one, you're not inundating your feed with everything you learned in the last hour. And you're not spending all day on Twitter. Those are the 2 main reasons. Yeah?
So occasionally I'll log in just to go through and retweet and find good stuff. How many do you think is too many in an hour when you are inundating people and go, oh gosh, why is it too much?
It depends on your network. Oops, standing on myself. Depends on your network and the time of day, quite honestly. For me, 7 o'clock in the morning is one of my sweet spots. I don't know if you guys know of a tool called Buffer app. Okay, so write that down and you can email me if you have a question later. So what Buffer does is it allows me to hit a button in my browser, and it picks the times of day that I set that I want things to be tweeted. So I can sit down, go through my RSS feeds, look at all my blogs, and then hit Buffer, and it will send them at the time of day that most of my readers are online. And there's specific times of day. There's lots of tools that you can use to track that and find out when they're there. So it's much better to spread them out. If you're doing more than, say, 5 or 6 an hour, and people start to freak out, then you gotta stretch it out more. Because here's what happens. If you post three tweets about different topics within 15 minutes, what is your network gonna do? They're gonna look at the last one. Or they're gonna go chase the first one. They're gonna miss the 2 that followed it. You gotta get in time to digest things and see them. When they go back and look at your Twitter page, which believe it or not is where most people tweet, which surprises me, but not a lot of other people, they can see, what you've posted in sequence. And so, if you do that posting all at once thing, they'll still see them, but they're not going to really see them in their stream. They're going to skip over them. They're going to go, oh, look, she's over here. This is really, oh, look over here. It's that bright, shiny object syndrome. So spread them out a little bit, and then give people time to say something and respond to you, and then reply to that post. The most important thing isn't you putting stuff out there. It's responding to people and them responding to you. It's the conversation. So you want to get that going. You got to figure out how you're going to get that going. It's usually by putting out really good information that's interesting to your networks. How many people in here haven't heard of the 80-20 rule?
Have not heard.
Yep, have not heard. Okay. So what the 80-20 rule is that 80% of what you post should be about somebody else. Somebody else doing a review of your book is not about somebody else. It's about you. So that's the 20%. So 20% should really be self-promotional or about you. The other 80% really needs to be information that's around the area of expertise, supporting other authors, supporting other publishing houses, supporting news, putting that out. Basically, you can do a little bit about just kind of responding to what people are saying. There's the whole problem with Twitter that people have about all they do is tweet about what they had for lunch. I call it water cooler syndrome, okay? I do it occasionally when I had a bad day or, oh, I'm at the dog park and it's raining. And that's kind of humanizing and that's okay, as long as it's an extremely small part about what you tweet. You don't want to put out so much that everybody knows what you have for lunch every day and they know you're going to be at the bakery on the corner. Nobody cares except your very close friends. And even they don't care after about a week. So you can put that stuff out periodically, but what you want to do is post news items. Say that you're working in the tech industry. There is an incredible amount of information that you could be sharing to develop yourself as an information resource. And Twitter's perfect for that because you just put out links. You put out a link and what you think. It doesn't have to be the title of the post. Please don't always make it the title of the post, especially if it's from Mashable. Actually think about what the article's about and say something instead of just retweeting the article title over and over and over and over and over because everybody else has done it. It's been tweeted 600 times now. It's kind of boring. So what do you think? That's what people really want to know. And when you do that, that's when you'll find out that people will actually respond to you. If you just tweet out titles or you just retweet and reshare information, I don't really have a need to respond to you. I may go read it, I may reshare it, I may retweet it, but give me your opinion on what you think about the topic instead of just dumping it out into the universe. You get a lot more interaction that way and you start to build a network. People will follow you because, wow, you've got original thought. And that's kind of what the industry is about, right? Original thought. So, try to make it so that you're a resource, so that people will actually want to follow you, so you don't have to pay people to follow you. Yes?
I've been experimenting with Twitter on a novel of mine that's been out for a few months. And in about 6 months, I'll have a nonfiction book, utterly unrelated to the novel, come out. Should I have 2 accounts, or should I try to mix them together?
It's a real challenge with authors, and it depends on what your resource level is, because it's extremely hard, and I made this mistake with my own book on Facebook. I have forever a Facebook page that's dedicated to my first book. Well, I got 4 books now. Am I going to create another channel for each book? That's really painful, and then you have to maintain it. So now all of my stuff is on an old book page. Same thing with Twitter. If you can't feed both of those channels and keep them interesting, then be the guy that's got a really broad scope of interest and just do that. You can still promote both books on the same channel, even though they're really different. Some people will not follow you because they'll be bounced off by the other topic. And you know what? That's okay. Big deal. they're not really interested in you as an author then, so they're not going to want to follow you anyway. But most people will respect that you have a lot of differences. If you look at my Twitter feed, you know, I tweet a lot around my clients' interests as well. So I tweet about nonprofits and wine and technology and social media and Silicon Valley and my horse. Lots of geek stuff. And people kind of accept that there's a certain percentage of what I'm saying that's going to be interesting to them. And as long as I balance out those interest levels, they're fine with it so far. They may all leave tomorrow.
What is your Twitter?
Fouts, Jfouts. And if you have any questions after this or whenever, just tweet me. Because actually that's the best way to get a hold of me, is to send me a tweet. I get 2,000 emails a day. So, well, I monitor a lot of accounts. So everything's buried, right? So now I send me a direct message on Twitter.